Now let's jump into Power BI and look at the same data model to deep dive more into the relationships, right? Because relationships is something which is a bit, um, you know, it's not very straightforward to understand, and it has really intricate concepts that if you are able to master, then you can have a very good command on overall DAX as a language, and will be able to create, complex data scenarios using DAX and Power BI, right? So this is the same data model that I basically showed you before. This is the data from a superstore company, a global superstore, which contains, the orders table that contains all the order IDs along with the other details like, what is the profit in each order, what are the order dates, shipping date, shipping mode, etc. Then you have the returns table, which basically lists all the order IDs that were returned. And then you have a calendar table, which is nothing but a simple date table containing all of the dates in the chronological order. And then you have the people table. People table is nothing but, it contains the regions the company is operating and who is the in charge of that region, right? So that's what the people table is. Now you all know in Power BI you have these three modes on the left, right? The report mode, the top one, which basically shows you the visuals. So this is a blank canvas where you actually create all of your visuals. The second mode is the data view or the data view mode. This shows all of your data in a spreadsheet format. So all of the individual tables, I just can click on these tables and I can see what kind of data exists in these table. The most important thing that most of the people actually overlook is the bottom section of the data view, right? So this contains the information about the table, right? For example, the content here at the bottom says it's a table. Its table name is returns, and then there are 1173 rows in this table. And if you click on any column here, for example, if I click on order ID, then it will show more information about the column, right? So as you can see now, apart from the older information about the tables, now it says that the column ID, the column name which is selected is order ID, and it has 1172 distinct values, right? So this means that anyone can make out that it's common sense that the total rows are 1173 and there are 1172 distinct values in the order ID table, which means that there is one duplicate in the order ID table, right? Similarly, you can click on the other columns to see the details as well. For example, the returned column here, it just has one distinct value. Obviously, we can see only one value, yes, on the screen. So it's a no-brainer that all the values in this column are yes, right? And then you can, look at the markets as well. So there are 4 distinct markets in this table. And then if you want to see what those 4 markets are, you can always, just simply click on this drop down and then see, the 4 markets are APAC, EU, LATAM, and then United States, right? So this is the data view, and then obviously we have the model view where we essentially see the entire data model, right? A set of tables connected to each other through relationships, right? Now, if you'll notice in the relationships that, there are 2 ends, right? Every relationship has 2 ends because it is connected to 2 tables. So one end for each table. For example, this relationship between people and orders is this first end is this and the other end is this. If you notice these icons, it says 1 on the people side and then it says a star on the orders side, right? So this is basically a type of a relationship, right? And 1 basically means, 1, right? And a star basically means many. So the relationship that exists between people and orders is 1-to-many relationship, right? I'll come to, what 1-to-many is, but, just try to understand that this is something known as 1-to-many because it has 1 on one side and a star on the other side. if you look at this relationship right here, right? So it has a star on one side between orders and returns. It has a star on one side on the order side and a star on the return side as well, right? So it's a no-brainer now to to understand the name of this relationship, right? Star means many, one means one, so it's a one to many. Here both of them are stars, so this relationship here is known as many to many relationship. And then of course calendar and orders, it's similar to people and orders, so one to many, right? And then you can also have a relationship where both of these icons at both the ends are one, right? So instead of a star, if I would have had a one, then I would have called this relationship as one to one, right? Now let's try to understand what exactly this one and what exactly this many means, right? So one basically means that the column that this relationship is connected to basically has just one distinct value for all the rows. This means that there are no duplicates in that column. So if I hover over this relationship, the columns that this relationship is connected to get highlighted. For example, you can see, in the people table, region is the column that gets highlighted, and in the orders table, the region again is the column that gets highlighted. The people region is a one side, which means that all the records or all the values in this region column in the people table will be the unique values, which means there will be no duplicates. Every row will basically contain a unique value. That's why this is known as one, right? Because in the entire column, there is only one value in each row, right? And that one value is distinct value. There are no repeats, there are no duplicates. Whereas the many side means that there are duplicates present, in the column, right? So we'll go to the spreadsheet view and just try to understand more. So I'll open the one side, which was the people's table and the region column, right? So if you look at here, the region column. So I'll just click on this region column and I'll look at the details section at the bottom again, which I talked about previously. So this table has 13 rows. The people table has 13 rows, right? But the column which is selected, which is called region, has 13 distinct values. So if in a table there are total 13 rows and in the column there are 13 distinct values, this means that there are no repeats in the region column, right? So this means that this table doesn't contain any duplicate. This means that if any relationship is built on this particular column, it will always be a one side of a relationship, because one means unique. Every row has one distinct value. There are no repeats, right? So now you understand what this one means here. Now we'll go to the orders table, right? So the orders region, let's just look at that now, right? Because this is a many side, let's just confirm, that this is a many side or not. So I'm going to go to the data view again. I'm going to the orders table, and then I'm going to look for the region name. One way to look at if there are a lot of columns in a table, you just expand this column. All of these fields are arranged in the alphabetical order, so it's easier to find the column that you're looking for. So I'll just click on this region and it will highlight my column here, right? Now, if I again look at the detail view, the table details at the bottom, then it's a table called orders, which has 51,290 rows. But the region column which is selected has 13 distinct values. So there are 51,000 rows, but there are only 13 distinct values. This means that a lot of values are getting repeated. There are a lot of duplicates, and it can also be seen in this preview that you have so many central, right? So this means that if you have a duplicate, then any relationship connected to this column will always be a many side of a relationship, because one value is repeated many times, right? On a one side, one value is only present once, whereas on a many side, one value is repeated many times, right? So that's why this relationship here is called a one-to-many relationship. Again, this is a many-to-many. This means, both these columns, in each table will have repeated or duplicate values. That's why the relationship which exists between these two tables is a many-to-many relationship. All right, I guess this is clear.